Plaza, 2nd floor, or call 0758 819 952 or 0778 288 361. We also have other branches in Mbara and Jinja.
Fellow Ugandans, did you know that we are losing wetlands at an alarming rate? Wetlands are the most threatened ecosystems, disappearing 3 times faster than the forests. Dear ones, we risk losing species to extinction and a lot of wetlands at maintaining our environment. Let us all be concerned, conserve, and restore our wetlands. In the name of God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Water and Environment, Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, Uganda National Meteorological Authority, in partnership with the Interreligious Council, with support from Government of Uganda, Green Climate Fund, and the United Nations Development Programme.
The 28th edition of the Uganda Manufacturers Association's International Trade Fair will be different as Uganda marks the 60th anniversary, the Diamond Jubilee. The trade fair comes after a 2-year break brought about by the global COVID-19 pandemic. In the last 2 years, there have been several innovations across the industry. This is an opportunity to showcase what the market has. Come display, come explore, come see, come experience. Come learn and be part of the Diamond Jubilee Trade Fair at Uganda Manufacturers Association Showgrounds from 3rd to 10th October. Contact our marketing department and experience the Diamond Jubilee Trade Fair. Let's harness economic recovery through local sourcing and deepening value chain integration during the Diamond Jubilee exhibition.
Welcome back. You are still watching News Tonight. Now, members of the National Social Security Fund, NSSF, will earn an interest of 9.65% on their savings for the financial year 2021-22, translating into 1.38 trillion shillings that will be credited to their accounts. In accordance with the provisions of the NSSF Act, the new rate will be calculated and credited on the balance outstanding on each member's account. That's as of 1st July. Dennis Sigoa has more.
The National Social Security Fund interest declared is above the 10 years average rate of inflation, which stood at 5.5% as at the end of June 2022. According to the fund, the rates are competitive in the market this year, given the economic shocks faced in 2020 that have continued to impact the global economy to date.
Because we didn't invest in long-term bills, when we invest in long-term bills, we would have earned an interest of 18%. When we invest in short-term bills, we earned an interest of about 8-9%. The difference between 8-9% and 18% is the opportunity cost we lost, and that is about 94 billion shillings. Sorry, 98 billion shillings. That 98 billion shillings, if you add it to the 4.5 billion shillings, and you add it to our revenue, we would have been able to pay out at least an interest rate of 10.6%.
However, it's a decline from the 12.5% interest rate paid the previous year.
The fund is committed to implementation of the new NSSF Amendment Act and has already rolled out the mid-term access benefits. In this regard, the fund has paid out mid-term access benefits for the first year running, amounting to over 443 billion to over 21,700 qualifying members in the just concluded financial year.
We clarify business purpose, but we also, as much as possible, assess performance. Assess performance in real time. In NSSF, we have no performance appraisal, but we have got performance enhancement oversight.
According to Richard Byarugaba, the managing director, NSSF, the fund has invested in short-term instruments whose returns are lower to provide for liquidity to pay eligible mid-term benefit to claimants.
If you go to Tamangalo, which is a little bit lower end, of the market, you'll notice that we built actually more houses. We are building 550 houses, which is a lot more than what we're doing in Lobo. So depending on what the market is telling us, how many people are available, how many people are willing to pay for those houses, we will build according to them. So we do not do anything before we do market research.
Other performance indicators show that the fund registered growth in its assets under management that increased by 11% from Uganda shillings 15.5 trillion to 17.3 trillion, and member contributions that increased by 9% from 1.3 trillion shillings to 1.48 trillion shillings. Dennis Igor and Juman Samba for UBC News.
At 92%, but that.
Well, today the NSSF held its 10th annual members meeting, and in studio today we have the MD for the fund, Richard Byarugaba. Welcome to our studios.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me, Rhoda.
You're welcome. The theme today was 10 years of accountability. Just take us through that.
So the fund has, for the last 10 years, held an annual members meeting, a little bit like an annual general meeting, which is to allow us to be able to communicate with our members on an annual basis the performance of the fund. We never did that before. It was only introduced 10 years, and the purpose was that it is to help us explain to our members, tell them what we're doing with the money, tell them what are the challenges, and tell them what we're going to pay them as a result of our activities, as a dividend or an interest to them at the very end of the year. Of course, now, 2 or 3 years ago, the regulator for pensions did actually set it as a regulation that all schemes, pension schemes, must have an annual members meeting or an annual general meeting for its members. So fortunately for us, we'd already been complying, and therefore today is an anniversary. We've done it for the last 10 years, and we're quite proud that it demonstrates our ability to be able to provide that openness, that transparency, and that accountability to our members.
Now, today you also went into a great detail of the financial performance of the fund, and there were some key indicators.
Okay, so the main actions, of course, would be the rate of interest that we paid. We paid a rate of interest of 9.65% for all balances that were held as of the 1st of July 2021. So whatever your balance was, we will apply a rate of 9.65% to that balance. The other thing that we did today is we obviously signed into law our financial statements. The first act of the activity was the Auditor General giving a clean bill of health for our accounts. But if you look at our performance, our assets under management grew by about 9%. Our income grew from about 1.6 trillion to 1.8 trillion. Our costs remained stable at around 203 billion shillings. We paid about 200 billion shillings in taxes, and that, as a result of all that, we eventually had to pay, if you look at the return that we received on all our revenue, it was about 12%. So if you remove our expenses, if you remove the tax and a couple of adjustments, that's how we come to the figure of 6.5%, which we then pay to our members as a dividend or as an interest, 9.65% to our members, that we pay then to our members.
So it's a bit lower than it was last year.
So last year we paid out 12.15%, and we explained the reason why it went lower. The first reason was that this year government introduced a new law which introduced a new benefit. That benefit is the midterm access. As a result of the midterm access, we had to pay out almost 500 billion shillings, and that means we didn't have that money to invest. So there was an opportunity cost for us not having that money and therefore earning interest on it. The second thing we had to do is we had to provide for the liquidity of this midterm access. So what did we do? Instead of investing in long-term government bonds, which we normally do, which earn us, between 16 and 18% return, we invested in short-term treasury bills to be able to prepare for that liquidity.
Yes.
Now, those short-term treasury bills return about 8%. So we were losing about 8, 9, 10 percentage points on the amount of investment of about 1.6 or 7 trillion shillings that we invested in short-term bills, and that was an opportunity cost of about 994 billion shillings, which effectively meant that if we hadn't to prepare for the payment of midterm access, we would have been able to pay another 0.6% of interest.
Was that one of the fears you had at the onset of the midterm access?
Absolutely. It's one of the things we mentioned. Actually, the losses were slightly lower than we had anticipated, because initially we thought that we had to sell off our assets at a lower price in order to be able to pay this. Fortunately enough, we rearranged our liquidity such that we invested in short term in order to have the liquidity available. So the losses were not as big as those which we had anticipated initially. And then finally, of course, we all know that when interest rates were increased in the rest of the world, a lot of the institutional investors moved their money out of East Africa, in Kenya, in Tanzania, in Uganda, into the foreign markets of bonds. And that, in effect, meant that we could, the stock exchange fell by almost 20% in some of the markets. And that meant that we also lost some money on our fair valuations, which was equivalent to about 280 billion shillings. And that was equivalent to about 1.7%, 1.75%. So if you add 1.7% plus 0.66% onto 9.65%, a lot of maths, but the number would have been around 12 still. 12 point.
What are the plans to take back this number to 12 or even beyond? Do you predict that these numbers can go beyond, say, in the next financial years?
So in financial matters, you can never give a guarantee of a return.
Okay.
But what you can say is that the payments we had to make on midterm are a one-off, because obviously now midterm becomes an ordinary payment. We keep liquidity for it, as we keep liquidity for the other benefits. So we will not have to make drastic changes to our strategic asset allocation in order to create a lot of liquidity for the new midterm access. So that element of about 0.6% will not reoccur in this coming year. But having said that, we can never guarantee that the markets will not go down, but we hope that the markets will go up. In fact, the markets have already recovered. If you look at the stock exchange in Kenya, it has recovered a lot of the losses it had incurred by the middle of this year.
Speaking of Kenya, President Ruto once said he wants an NSSF Kenya. Really, I think putting credit to NSSF Uganda.
Yeah.
What are some of those things you pride in as NSSF Uganda?
Of course, the first thing you do is your collections. You've got to make sure that the collections are done efficiently at a low cost. So we've done a lot of automation. So if you are an employer and you're paying on behalf of your employees, you do not have to go to the bank to do so. You can do so electronically. The money will hit our systems in the same day. So there's a lot of automation. The other thing that we've been able to do is on our payouts as well, we've been able to automate that process. And therefore, if you are applying for your benefits, especially the benefits that are predictable, things like age benefit, where we know that you get to the age of 55 and you claim your money, or you withdraw benefit, you get to the age of 50 and you're out of employment for 1 year, you can claim your money, or midterm access, you have saved for 120 contributions, and you have reached or attained the age of 45. Those are predictable. Those are things that we can do automatically, and they take a very short time to implement. So that reduces our cost of doing business. The other things obviously we've been able to do is a strategic asset allocation. If you were paying attention to the presentation we made today, we said that today a majority of our investment is in the fixed income space. That is about almost 75–78% of our investment is in fixed income.
Why so?
Because fixed income tend to be dependable. We know what we're going to get in a bond once we buy it. We know that it will give us a return, and we know it is for a long period. So, and it is a low risk. You know, governments won't default on that. So the other area where we invest in is in equities. We have a percentage of about 15% or an allocation of 15%. Of course, we tend to look for the good companies that are going to provide us with a good dividend or are going to provide us with a good what we call asset valuation, in other words, increasing of the value of the stock. And then finally, of course, we are doing a lot of real estate. We've launched a lot of houses in Lubowa. We are about to launch, or will be launching in Temangalo. We are about to launch in Chanja and a couple of other places outside of Kampala. So real estate is our smallest allocation of at under 7%, but it's also lucrative because although it takes a long time to deliver, it also gives us a good return once it has been delivered.
We were talking about this earlier before we went on air, that there's a cross-section of Ugandans who feel they are not a target market for the assets that NSSF or the projects that NSSF is involved in. For example, the one in Lubowa, when it came up, there was that talk of these are very unaffordable projects. So could you clarify the science behind that?
Okay, so we have segmented our market in what we'd call three market segments. We've got the top end, we've got the middle sort of range, and we've got the affordable. I wouldn't like to call it lower end, but it is affordable. So if you look at the affordable product, a lot of our affordable product will be in Temangalo, will be in Chanja. We have almost a total of about 1,000 units in those two projects. So that will cater for the affordable and the medium as well, the medium market. The top end of the market will be definitely Lubowa, and for 2 or 3 reasons. The first reason is the value of land.
Yes.
The value of land in Lubowa is very expensive. Secondly is infrastructure. We had to build all the infrastructure from scratch. If you've been to Lubowa, if you look at the area where we've not built and you see the area where we've built, there is a lot of infrastructure. Infrastructure tends to be about 30 or 40% of the cost of the project, and that price has to be loaded onto the price of the units, all right? So having said that, we do not want to create what you'd call a slum, so you don't want to have so many buildings in such an area, which is high end, if you look at the other residents who stay there. So we believe that the only way we can continue to maintain its prime is through pricing and making sure that we do a good product. So the price, of course, reflects the quality of the products that we used, of the material that we used, in order to come out of the house. And I would like to encourage everybody who really wants a house to go to Lubowa and check us out.
Okay, now lastly, what can we look forward to, given that the business climate or the business environment has a bit changed?
Yes, so obviously we will continue to do the right thing, look for the good investments. We will continue to increase our exposure in equities because we know they give us a good return. Not only do they give us a good dividend, but they also give us a good capital appreciation. We will continue to look for opportunities where there are long-term investments in bonds. We've seen a couple of the countries in the neighborhood issue things like Euro bonds that are issued in foreign currency. The beauty about investing in a foreign currency is that you hedge your risk on the foreign currency, and also you get a risk return on the asset that you have. And then finally, of course, we'll continue to finish our issues of the houses so that we can sell those houses and get a good return for our members. So members should be at least consoled and be happy that we will continue to do the right thing. And we've promised them that we'll give them a good return, 2 percentage points above 10-year inflation. 10-year inflation last year was about 3.6% annually on 10-year basis. We've paid at least 9%, which is about 6 percentage points above 10-year inflation. So as a fund, your money is growing and is beating inflation.
Thank you very much, Richard, for gracing us today. Well, we'll take a quick, before that, let's just give you a quick update on the Ebola situation in the country. The Ministry of Health has announced 6 new cases of Ebola. The new confirmed cases bring the number of cumulative cases to 24, and the number of deaths still stand at 5. Ministry of Health spokesperson also told UBC about the Kasangati suspected Ebola case, where a sample has been obtained and taken to Uganda Virus Research Institute.
Kati omubale gw'abantu abakakakasibwa kubeera n'ekirwadde kya Ebola guyimiridde ku 24. Ekyo kiraga nti twafunye 6 abapya, kubanga jo omubale gwabadde guyimiridde ku 18. Ate kati tugenda kubanga tufokasinga kwabo abakakasibwa mu laboratory. Abakafa bakyayimiridde ku 5. Tetunafuna omuntu omulala afudde ekirwadde kya Ebola. Ebibadde bitambula ku mikutu gya social media nga biraga nti waliwo yafudde ekasangati. Tuli mu kukolagana wamu ne Kampala Capital City Authority okulaba nti no sample ejirwayo already sample bagijeyo. Tulinze binafuruma mu Uganda Virus Research Institute where case suspected case oba case eteberebwa kubanga ya Ebola. Wano mu Kampala tetunafunayo case ya Ebola, so abantu babeere bagumu naye tusaba buli omu gyali abeere bulindaara.
And now experts in Kiswahili language have expressed the need to have Kiswahili taught from at least primary 4 to primary 7, then senior 1 to senior 4 to give it a good foundation. During a conference to expose students of senior 1 and 2 to Kiswahili language in Lugazi, the founder of Kiswahili teaching in Uganda, Milton Rabasheja, said Kiswahili needs to be emphasized to everybody who comes through school because it is now the second official language in Uganda.
Teaching of Kiswahili language in Uganda was a resolution from the African Peer Review Commission report of 1989 and 1990, and in the government white paper recommendations, the white paper recommended Kiswahili teaching starting from primary to other tertiary institutions. An institution would be set aside for training teachers for Kiswahili language. National Teachers College, Kakuba, started teaching teachers to train teachers for secondary schools.
2006, where you went and also began the teaching of Kiswahili there. I taught Kiswahili first of all single-handedly, but later on, when I was promoted to be the academic registrar, the government appointed 2 lecturers to assist me.
So far, government efforts to promote Kiswahili language in schools, including making it compulsory in senior 1 and senior 2. Hence, books have been authored and published in this language.
Kiswahili has been made a second official language of Uganda to be used in areas of law, to be used in areas of in the parliament. Kiswahili needs to be emphasized so that everybody who passes through the school learns the basics of Kiswahili for easy communication.
There seems to be inadequate materials used for teaching Kiswahili language in secondary schools, although real teaching of Kiswahili language would have started at primary 4.
Some schools have got few learning materials, like the books for Kiswahili are not enough, and people are still in the other old curriculum. They have not given Kiswahili a chance and an opportunity. So students find it also hard due to what is at home. Some parents at home do not want children to study Kiswahili. The language of Swahili to develop based on the importance of the language of Swahili. So we are here telling the government, employ people to give other policies like the recent policy to be implemented of making members of parliament to learn the language of Swahili.
Government, as it has been doing, as it is putting on policies to make sure that Kiswahili is taught in primary and secondaries.
Meanwhile, Kiswahili students say Kiswahili is a simple language for which learners need to develop a positive attitude.
You know how to I have to learn Kiswahili. I'm sure that you're going to learn it and you're going to speak it fluently.
Something that takes you away from the little boundary you have been in. It exposes you to a new, different world.
I'm Nafka Farida, reporting.
Beat the back-to-school hustle today. Pay school fees conveniently using Airtel Money. Dial *185#. Select option 6, school fees.
Select to pay using Bridge Schools, School Pay or Beg Pay.
Select option 1, pay fees. Enter student number. Enter the amount. Enter the PIN number to complete payment. Airtel Money. Instant, secure, borderless.
Forget last season. Forget the oohs and the ahs. Forget every moment that stole the show. Because the real show is here on GoTV. It's the new season. It's action-packed and it's going to be non-stop football. With over 1,000 games from more than 7 leagues and cup competitions plus a World Cup. Make sure you get the best seat in the house this new football season. Get a GoCoder with 1 month of GoTV value for only 25,000 Uganda shillings and enjoy non-stop football. GoTV Uganda. Love it.
Wabula October Bidel Musaba Gardens Mukono, October Mukaga Millennium Gardens Sazibuaya, October Munanaji Montelembara, 10 October, 40 Poto Muchisawe, Abidim Bi October, Bale Sports Center, Umtual Kumo, Yebem Tuale Santo, Emeza million yemo, Wabula Batual Kumia, Abana tickets of Kosa MTN Momo, Bajagusa Sulan Comitano, Bidamina Romo Center, Hiva Motors, Galaxy FM, Radio 4, Kagwila War, MTN. Saba Fulu Balamo!
Welcome back. Now in business news, government has launched new guidelines on financial institutions such as SACCOs, microfinances, to protect savers' money at local levels while promoting a saving culture. State Minister for Microfinance, Chayune Haruna Kasolo, told the media the guidelines will solve challenges savers have been encountering. I beg your pardon. That's challenges savers have been encountering.
Is a vicious cycle of poverty caused by a poor culture of saving, which is a result of low incomes, low capital accumulation, and no investment. When they form saving groups, the savers' interests are not safeguarded. Even microfinance institutions have guidelines that do not protect persons' savings or borrowing. As a result, government has set new guidelines to protect local savings and will inject 100 million to boost SACCOs.
With these guidelines, I want to assure Ugandans that you will no longer use your lose your savings at a group level. Your monies are going to be safe. This is a law, and I want to encourage WUMULA and other key stakeholders to ensure that this law is popularized. Ugandans must get to know about the existence of Tier 4 Microfinance Institutions and Lenders Act, because we serve the majority of Ugandans.
The Executive Director, Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority, Edith Namugatusubira, says the new guidelines will strengthen the operations of groups.
The authority is further mandated to implement Section 99 and Section 100 for the Tier 4 Microfinance Institutions and Money Lenders, 2016, to issue operational guidelines to assist the self-help groups establish financial stabilization mechanism for purposes of providing compensation to members. In other words, be able to operationalize their activities under a certain form of legal framework.
The country director, Care Uganda, Michael Opio, pledged to work with government to roll out in the formulation of the guidelines and also digitalize the registration of the financial groups.
We will continue, Honorable Minister, to work with your
your teams in terms of rolling out these guidelines and seeing how it is working and the feedback?
However, for those who do not adhere to the guidelines, face a penalty.
That tells that that person would be fined 2 million Ugandan shillings or be imprisoned.
Irene Faith Natongo, Weisonga Stefan, UBC News.
State Minister for Local Government Victoria Businge Rusoke has ordered for the transfer of Chanyarugonjo Sub-County Headquarters to Mukako Trading Centre in Mutunguru Parish. The Minister also cancelled Kagadi District Council resolution which had ordered the establishment of the headquarters at Chanyarugonjo Parish in Kagadi District. This follows a standoff between Chanyarugonjo Sub-County Council and the District Council over the location of the sub-county headquarters.
Rusoke has ordered for an immediate transfer of Chanyarugonjo sub-county headquarters to Mukako Trading Centre in Mutunguru Parish in Kagadi District.
Kaburunjo witaka narora twarubata twarora obukoto bwaliyo n'abantu obwingi bwabo kirenu kiro kinu ebyo byokweza na mukaga omwezi ogwa mwenda mwaka gwa mukama wito gwa 2026 nyowe Rusinge Victoria Rusoke Minister of Government ezebichweka sikikira na council kukabe chwiremu kandi ndabire kuri mbichori bya basista abantu baitu abantu batakira kuno kwengeroku naragira mu ibara lya government ngwegombora ya Kinyarugonjo yonde hanze.
The minister also ordered for the immediate interdiction of the sub-county chief, Emmanuel Tumwebaze. The Chanyarugonjo sub-county speaker John Birungi said that during the council, the majority of the councillors were in favour of locating sub-county headquarters to Mutunguru.
And I mean to bring here an induction. Some of the things happening are being done out of ignorance, and it is our role as central government to sensitize our councils. So I commit myself to come back here or send my commissioners to come and induct the councils and the communities.
The chairperson, Chanyarugonjo Godfrey Kabyemera, says Mutunguru location befits the decision. The Kagadi district chairperson, Dibwami Yosia, says councillors need an induction course to minimize ignorance about the laws and local government acts. Some joyful residents of Mutunguru Parish lauded the minister for intervening and condemned the district council for turning down the resolutions passed by the sub-county council. Sudat Kaye, UBC News.
As the world builds up to the Qatar 2022 World Cup, Ugandans are not left behind. Countries competing in Qatar will be winning money and honor. Ugandans will equally be winning prizes. Plascon has launched the Color Cup Paint and Win campaign that coincides with the FIFA World Cup season.
The World Cup fever that runs through the entire year not only excites hosting nations, but all football-loving countries. Here in Uganda, the nation that has never competed at that level, football enthusiasts usually confine with African nations that have qualified: Ghana, Cameroon, Senegal, Tunisia, Morocco. Other continents' representatives this year, and the debate of who will make it out of the group stages amongst them goes on. Private entities are focusing on the World Cup season to reward loyal customers. And Mary Stadium Chitende was the host of the Color Cup Paint and Win promotion that comes in the World Cup season. Here, all Plascon customers stand a chance to win prizes worth 2 billion Uganda shillings.
A decade we have been doing promotions towards the fourth quarter, and again this year we have come up with a promotion which is our Plascon Cup Kalaka promotion. It also coincides with the World Cup because our promotion is running from 1st of October to 13th of December. And the whole concept was as teams win in World Cup, so also we want Ugandans to win something during this period. So the promotion is basically a way of giving back.
Plus, corner penetrating sports sponsorship. Apart from sponsoring Viper Sports Club, they sponsor netball, cricket, rugby, among other disciplines. The part of the league, Viper Sports Club will open its football season against Bright Stars this Friday. The host venue, St. Mary's Stadium Chitende, has fully been refurbished ahead of the new season.
I can't wait for the league opener. We've had a number of friendlies and the results are known to everybody. We've just had our first game of Champions League. No, okay, we had our second game. We are all set for TP Mazembe, that's coming here on 8th. The league is opening this Friday. As Vipers, we are more than prepared. We've assembled a world-class team and I can assure you we will match this.
Well, that does it for News Tonight. For now, we do return at 10 o'clock with more details. I'm Rotongonzi. Do stick around.
Ubc Inspiring Uganda.
I think this is a fundamental change. Promulgation of the Constitution.
Hello and welcome, the first in the series of our program, The Evolution of a Nation, a brand new documentary series chronicling Uganda's key political, social and economic history. I'm Bart Kakoza. As you may already be aware, on the 9th October this year, Uganda will be celebrating 50 years of independence. As part of many activities to mark the Golden Jubilee, we decided to rewind back into history, reflect on and document key political, social and economic events through which the country has evolved to get to where it is today. It is against this background, therefore, that we decided to name this series The Evolution of a Nation. Now, like any other country in the world, Uganda's history is very wide and hence it is not possible to include each and every aspect of this rich and diverse history. That's why in this series we identified and focused on key ones. You will definitely find some that have not been included, but this does not make them less important. The series covered the period from 1944 to date. We decided to stretch back from that time simply because it was the year when the British colonialists marked 50 years of occupation of Uganda, and each series covers a specific period in the country's history. So, lay back and relax as we bring you the first episode in the series.